Now you keep watching that guy because his eyes and the gun will follow you no matter where you are in this estate. Over to the far left hand side there now. Can you see it? Yeah. Well, keep watching him now. Yeah. Down here on the right hand side where you see the flags flying, that's the street that Johnny Adair lived in, and of course this is where his right hand men used to all stand around here. The guy on the wall painting wasn't killed by the IRA, he was actually killed by the UVF. There used to be a big fuse between the two loyalist paramilitaries on the Shankill. Now just look behind the little mission hall in a moment, keep watching the guy with the gun, watch his eyes and watch the gun. He's still pointing at you, still following you. Over to the left, you see why the H blocks were called the H blocks, because they were in the shape of an H. That's the high security prisons. And of course, the loyalists also called their prisoners prisoners of war. Now look back now as we pass again. Watch the guy with the gun. Watch his eyes. He's still keeping a bead on you. Then over to the left here you see another guy who was called Lieutenant Colonel Bucky McCullough. He was killed in another feud between the two loyalist organisations. His son was also killed in a feud. So both the father and the son were killed in a feud between the two loyalist paramilitary groups. And there he is. He's also an orange man as well. Never allows the river to empty, so you no longer get the horrible smells. The river itself is completely oxygenated, and if you look, it's one of the cleanest rivers you'll see in any city now. It used to be almost toxic at one time. Now, if you had been here just about 12 weeks ago, you'd have seen the biggest fleet of tall ships ever to come into the British Isles. It was called the Transatlantic Challenge from Halifax in Canada to Belfast. And as many as 70 tall ships were in Belfast here for 4 days. Over 500,000 people actually came to see them. And it was a wonderful sight seeing all these beautiful ships sailing up the river out into the Irish Sea. Now in a moment, if you look across the river, you'll see a big blue and white fish in front of the customs house. That was put there to celebrate the fact that the salmon are once more back in the river. So just in a moment now, if you look over to the far left hand side, you'll see like a big blue and white fish just sitting over in front of the customs house. Belfast, still the busiest ferry port in Ireland. This is one of the smaller ferries that can come right down the river. But of course this morning you came in the HSS, which comes into the new ferry terminal 1 mile further up the river from here. Just in front of us, this is the £96 million Odyssey Centre, which was actually our Millennium Project. London got the Dome, and thank God we got the Odyssey Centre. Home to the Belfast Giants, the only ice hockey team. You see their big advert here in Ireland. And of course, top concert venue, 12,000 seat. We've had everybody here recently from Sting to Dolly Parton to Justin Timberlake to Elton John. And just in a moment now, we're going to take a brief look at what is the most exciting recent development in Belfast history. The first phase of this is costing £2 billion, and it's reclaiming 185 acres of the old shipyard. And this is going to be turned into a 24-hour living experience. There's going to be a financial centre, over 600 waterfront apartments, a £90 million Titanic museum, a university where you see the crane working on the lorries. That is the foundations going in for the £92 million Titanic museum, with audio visuals, restaurants, tourist facilities, all the rest. The big red building in behind, which was the offices of Holland and Wolff, that just announced 2 weeks ago, this is going to be turned into the Titanic Hotel, a 5-star hotel on this site here, brought back to its former glory. So, if you look over to your left now, where you see this little yellow sort of wagon here, you can just about see 2 concrete ramps. They're very hard to make out because they're so grey, but can you see the 2 ramps there? They're on this side of the river. If you see the mound of the brown earth there, look, you can see one, and then just actually in behind this little yellow machine, you can see the other one sloping down. Well, those are a total optical illusion. If you're standing on those, they are 900 foot long, the length of 3 soccer pitches. They're half the breadth of this road, and they run at a very slight gradient down into the river, way up behind this big square building behind me. Now, we had been sitting here in 1911. Sitting on the furthest one was the Olympic, and sitting on the one closest to us was Titanic. They were the biggest man-made moving objects in the world at that time. Titanic was 6 months ahead in construction. Sorry, Olympic was 6 months ahead in construction. So the keels were laid there, and they were held in place by huge gantries, which would have been almost as tall as these giant cranes over here to the right. If you see the height of those cranes, that's the height the gantries would have been. And 80% of the ship was constructed here. But at that stage, they were only a hollow shell. They were then launched off the slipways, taken 1 mile downriver to what was called the fitting wharf. Beside the fitting wharf was the largest floating crane in the world back in 1910, 1911, and it lowered in all the engines and the beautiful interiors for which Titanic and Olympic were famous. At that stage, she was 95% complete. She then was taken into what was the largest dry dock in the world back in 1911. It was called the Thompson Dry Dock. There the funnels were put in place, there the propellers were put in place, and the whole ship was painted on the exterior. At that stage, she went out into Belfast Lough, where she spent 7 days doing her sea trials. She then sailed off from Belfast to Southampton, where she only literally spent 1 day, from Southampton to Cherbourg, where she picked up her second group of passengers, and finally to Cork, where she picked up her final 130 plus passengers. 12 days after leaving Belfast, the biggest ship in the world was actually lying at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. But as we say in Belfast, she was okay when she left here. So it was. We always say she was built by an Irishman and sunk by an Englishman, so there you go. But if you're having a drink in Belfast, don't ask for ice in your drink, because ice has a damn bad reputation in this town. Just in front of us here to the front left, these are currently the busiest film studios in the British Isles. Just recently, Shirley MacLaine made a film here called Closing the Ring. That was followed by a Tom Hanks film called City of Ember. And just last week they moved out the Universal Studios. They had made a film here called His Hand in Belfast. It depicts a Greek goddess with the laurel wreath of victory standing on a globe of the world. But she's already got 3 nicknames. I'll let you pick your favourite. Some people call her the thing with the ring. Other people call her the doll on the ball. And my favourite is the Nula with the hula. So there you go. These people you see queuing up outside the shop over here to the right, they're queuing up for Halloween costumes. Halloween's a very big event in Belfast. In fact, Derry, further up the coast, has the biggest Halloween festival in the British Isles. Over 25,000 people in fancy dress. Take a look down the river now today. That used to be old derelict waterfront, old industrialised waterfront, completely transformed in this past 5 to 6 years. On the right, the Laganside buildings, recently opened by the Duke of Edinburgh, and in behind the Royal Courts of Justice. And then over to the left, the Waterfront Concert Hall, 2,500 seat concert hall. Belfast Festival's on at the moment. That's the second biggest festival to the Edinburgh Festival in the British Isles. All these new buildings are part of the technology industry. Hillary Clinton was here a week ago, and she brought with her the news that the American Stock Exchange is opening a big centre here in Belfast, employing 400 people in the technologies. On the left-hand side, you see the Victorian markets. This is Queen's University, Belfast. 2 Nobel Prize winners educated here. Seamus Heaney for literature, David Trimble for peace. Mary McAleese, who is currently President of the Republic of Ireland, was also a law student here, and later still a law lecturer as well. Earl Flynn, his father was actually head of the botanical faculty here. And a bit like the big universities in Glasgow and Edinburgh, Queen's is internationally famous for medicine, for civil engineering and law. This is one of the 4 top research medical universities in the British Isles. Just yesterday they were named as the top research university in the British Isles, actually. I'm not sure if I mentioned in this paper or not, but I heard it on the news. So we're very lucky to have this very, very good university here in Belfast. 26,000 students, and you see a lot of them milling about here at the moment. Well, of course, the campus today is all over the south of the city. This remains the centre of university life, but this building was originally built for 1,500 students. The very first female graduate from here was Florence Lewis. She was the mother of C.S. Lewis.
I really love my day in Ireland and I'm going to come back. What about you?
It's been a wonderful day with wonderful company.
What about closer and I'll get you to pie?
It's a magnificent red.
Please,